All right, so we're going to look at doing 1/4" connectors, which is a little bit different. If you look at this one, there's like one little, lug in the center there, like what you saw in the XLR, but then there's just this little tray here that you have to put the other wire in. So it's a little trickier. And we're going to make basically like a guitar instrument cable. And this is going to use, this is Canare 2115, which is a coaxial cable, meaning it only has one conductor in the center, and then it's got a braided shield around it, okay? So it's the two, the shield and the center conductor share the same axis, okay? That's why they call it coaxial. So the first thing you want to do is slide the boot on. And then we're going to get our knife out. And again, you want to do about 1 inch. I just use my 2 knuckles there. And I'm going to lay it on here, and I'm just going to spin it on the knife to try to score it a little bit, okay? And then I fold it over. Now this one has there's nothing between this outer jacket and the shield on this cable. There's no twine or anything, so you got to be extra careful not to cut into the shield, because the shield is the next thing that you're going to see right under this jacket, so be extra careful. We're just going to use the weight of the knife, and you'll see it suddenly splits open, okay? And I'm going to keep folding it over until I can get all the way around and split it open on all sides, okay? This jacket is a lot easier to get through than that Belden one is, so it's not going to take much to split that open, and then it will be there. Okay, at that point, you can just kind of get your fingernail under there and slide it right off. And now you see you've got the braided shield right there. But at this point, the next process is pretty similar. We're just going to unpick it. The nice thing here, though, is there's no twine to try to separate, so you can just dive right in and start unpicking this, and you won't have to keep track of all that twine in the middle, which is nice. So we're just going to keep going until it's all done. Now, like a guitar instrument cable is unbalanced, unlike a microphone. And meaning it only has one signal wire, whereas like a balanced XLR has a positive and negative polarity version of the sound, so that's why you have to have 2 wires in there. But for this, it's unbalanced, and because it's unbalanced, it's more susceptible to noise and interference and stuff like that. So it's also what's called a high impedance signal. So you really don't want these cables to be any more than like 15 feet. Okay. So don't make those any longer than this. So we're not going to make 25s of these. We're going to make 15s or shorter. The idea being that it would just plug straight into an amp or something and be within 15 feet, and hopefully it doesn't encounter anything bad as it goes there. And if it does, hopefully the shield will gather it and you'll be okay. So again, I'm going to try to get I need to dig under the outer jacket just a little bit, unpick this. I will. You don't want to be able to see any braid. Okay, good. And then we'll try to gather it again over to one side. If you need to kind of encourage it a little bit, you should. We're going to just straighten this all out, and then same thing, we're going to do a nice tight twist and pull here to keep it straight, and we want to twist this as small as possible into as small of a wire as we can. uniform as possible across there. Okay, so there we go. Now, before we do the next thing, we need to look at the connector we're going to stick this on. So what's going to happen is there is enormous potential here for you to create a short if you don't do this wrong. Because it is so easy for this center pin to short to the outer ring. So what you want to do is you're going to try to figure out, okay, well, how much do I have to do? We're going to cut half of this off and tin it, and then when we look at it, we have to be very careful about exactly how long each of these is, so that because we don't want the drain wire to be sitting underneath that center lug, otherwise it will short, and that would be really bad. So we're not going to do that. So before I mess with this inner part of it, I'm going to go ahead and tin this drain wire, and that way it won't unfold on me. And that process is basically the same. The nice thing, though, is this wire is not already tinned. Like in the Belden, there's already, it's not straight copper, untinned copper. So this is going to probably need a little bit more solder than you had before, and you may need to kind of like let it soak a little bit more, but you'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna watch it start to pool. Yes, okay, it's soaking in, and I'm just encouraging it as I bring it down. There we go. That looks all right. Nice and shiny. That's how you know you did it right, is if it's shiny. If it's dull, you were too slow. Okay. All right. So now this we've got to strip off, and this is a really thick jacket in here. I believe they call this a dielectric, and so you're probably not going to have a lot of success using your wire strippers to get this off. Were you able to do it with yours? Well, let's try that, because my little auto ones didn't do it. So let me try it. Let's try Emma's here really quick. All right, Ubby says 14 on the. Oh, so 16 for the stranded. Well, let's see. I'm going to go halfway down here. I took some with it. Yeah. That's not great. I took quite a lot with it, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I might have to do that again. So, it worked for you. What I would normally do is I would just score it like I would with my knife, and it'll cut right through that pretty quick, and then you slide it off. That's usually how I do it. But all right, I'm going to do this again. So, there's my big cutters. Somebody hand me one. All right, we're going to cut it off and do it again. Won't be the worst thing in the world for you to see in a second demonstration of it, right? You might remember another 10% that time. So I'm going to spin it on the knife to score it, and then just split it open until I see that bright copper sticking out. There we go. socket. By the way, I believe I got your card access fixed. Was everyone able to get in here with your card this morning?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Wait, what time? Like, is there a certain time that we're
10:15 till 6:30.
6:30?
Well, that's when it's the end of our days. I don't want you guys here at night.
Fair.
What if you had production till 6:30 before you get to until after production?
I still don't want you here at night. I think that's a come in the morning before your class or something. Or like if you really have that kind of problem, then we should look at getting you set up at home or something with a soldering iron or something. But yeah, this is not an awesome part of town to be in, you know, at night by yourself. I don't like that. Okay, so I'm gonna open that up and we will twist it, pull it, get it nice and uniform. I have one little thing break on me. That's all right. 1 is okay. 10 is not. That's borderline. Okay, so I'm gonna try and do this again. Very good. Okay, now we're going to do it the other way. So I'm just going to get my knife and I'm going to line it up here. There's the center. About halfway through. And this one you're going to want to use a little bit more pressure than you did before because you do have to actually cut through something here. But not so much pressure that you actually cut into the wire. That would be bad. Oh, the other one came up so easy. There, I got it. Okay. There, look at that. I didn't lose a single wire. Okay, that's how you do it.
To be fair, when I clamp down with wire cutters, I don't clamp down all the way because I know if I clamp down all the way, it's
Oh, so you're doing like a loose grip
Yeah.
thing on it? Ah, I gotcha. Well,
I didn't mention that.
you can try that. Your mileage may vary. That's just not how I do it. For this kind of cable, it's just such a thick jacket there that I find it difficult. So, all right, here we go. I'm going to tin this now, which is basically the same process. And this wire is about the same thickness as that jacket that we twisted. It's a lot more wire here. Okay. So now we can look at the connector, and where did it go? There it is. Okay, so we want this inner jacket to line straight up with the edge of that center lug. Okay, So let me cut that first. Looks like it'll go in about there. So I'm going to cut it there. And let's see if I can get it all the way in and the jacket touches. Not quite. So I'm going to cut a little bit more off. Because I want that jacket touching the lug. There it goes. Now it'll touch. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to figure out how short I have to cut this drain wire so there's no way that it's going to be sitting underneath that spot. Okay. So I'm going to cut it about there. So that ends up being just slightly short of the edge of that center jacket. Okay, so now we're ready to go. So I'm going to stick this connector in here. And we got to tin these. So I'm going to tin this center one a little bit. Just get some solder on there so it's ready for the wire. And then this one, you're going to just make a little pool of solder right on the edge of this, okay? And you got to make sure the soldering iron is touching the actual metal as well, because you're going to need that metal to heat up. And then you'll see the solder start to like pool onto there in a little bubble, and it'll stick. And that's when you know you're ready, okay? And that's only going to happen if the soldering iron is really transferring a lot of heat to that little piece of metal there. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do the drain wire first. Okay. So I'm going to just lay this on here on top of that bubble I made and lay the soldering iron tip on that wire. And it'll heat up and it'll start to melt, and so will that solder, and it'll lay on there, and then I hold it in place, move the iron, and it cools, and now that's not going anywhere. Okay, now I'm going to take my center wire, and I'm going to need some pliers for this. And I'm going to do the same thing. We're just going to, it's pretty thick, so I'm just going to lay it on here. Let it start to pool. Come on, heat up. I might need to melt this first. There it goes. And I get it all the way up against the lug, hold it, let it cool. There we go. That's what we're going for there. It's not focusing very well, is it? There. I think I was gripping a little too tight with my pliers there. It did kind of heat up that jacket a bit too much, but it's still insulated. And we could test that with our meter if we were worried about it, just to make sure we didn't compromise that. So, I'm going to turn on my continuity meter. Oh, that's right, my batteries are dead. I forgot. Who's got their meter?
It's sitting on my counter.
Yep. Sweet. I don't need the temperature on. There you go. Thanks. Okay. Ooh, brand new. Are there batteries in it? There are batteries in it. Okay. This is the christening of Brooks' meter. So I'm going to turn it to the continuity function, and you're going to need to hit this select button until you get there. Okay? So you should see that little speaker or sound icon is what it's supposed to be there. Okay, so what I want to do is I just want to see if between the tip and the sleeve of this thing, if I have continuity, and I do not. So I did it. I didn't short the wires together. It's very easy to do. It's very easy to do this wrong and short those wires together, and that's why you want to test it every time. Just make sure that you don't have continuity between those two. If you do, you got to cut it off and do it again. Okay? There you go, Brooke. Your meter works. And here, let me give you the dust caps for your leads. Okay? So now we can put this together. So there are two more pieces to this connector. Somewhere in here is a strain relief. I didn't drop it, right? No. Where did it go? Positive. Well, the bag is right here. Where did it go? It's not like my share, no. It's not under there, it's not there. Well, imagine we'll find it. Let me get another connector real quick. Show you what we're looking for. Okay, we're looking for this piece. All right, so what you do is you thread it onto there and you lay it like that so it covers that spot where you had it soldered. And then you slide a little barrel on there and you want to get it all the way through. You should see this little ridge stick out. And that's how you know you got it all the way in. Okay? And then you bring the boot up and you screw it in. There it goes. Yep, that's good to go. Okay?